Listen to this podcast now
on the Red Apple Podcast Network. The Leadership Thread with Dr. Peggy Polonis.
I'm Dr. Peggy Polonis. Join me on each episode where I unravel the story that shaped leaders, tracing the thread that led them where they are today. Because leadership isn't born in adulthood. And thank you once again for joining us on the Leadership Thread, education, ethics, and sustainability.
Download all of Red Apple Media's podcasts right now through your favorite podcast platform. The Rita Cosby Show
on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
And tonight on the Rita Cosby Show, there are reports that the Kurds are coming. As you may have heard, this is a very big deal. If indeed the Kurds decide to take the fight on the ground and bring it into Tehran, that would be an enormous, enormous success. Welcome to the Rita Cosby Show. Because if you can have those ferocious fighters on the ground, and there are reports that they would be potentially supplied by the CIA and others, that could be very powerful and a massive, massive force. We're going to be talking about that because that could be a game changer. Also, in the middle of all this, we are hearing that Pete Hegseth, of course, the Secretary of War, Pete is saying essentially that the U.S. strikes are now going to get even deeper into Iran and that the United States is just getting started. President Trump saying the same thing. You ain't seen nothing yet. Well, here is President Trump earlier today giving an assessment on what he has seen so far with Operation Epic Fury.
We're doing very well on the war front, to put it mildly, I would say. Somebody said, on a scale of 10, where would you rate it? I said about a 15. And we're going to continue to do well. We have the greatest military in the world by far. And that was a tremendous threat to us for many years. 47 years they've been killing our people and killing people from all over the world. And I think we have great support. And I think if we didn't do it first, they would have done it to Israel and give us a shot if that was possible. And if we didn't terminate the worst deal, one of the worst deals ever made, the Obama nuclear deal, I call it the Obama nuclear deal, where he gave everything to Iran, including a nuclear weapon. It was a road to a nuclear weapon. Bad things would have happened 4 years ago because they would have had a weapon 4 years ago if I didn't terminate that deal. So we're in a very strong position now, and their leadership is just rapidly going. Everybody that seems to want to be a leader, they end up dead. And it's an amazing thing that's taking place before your eyes, because for 47 years we were pushed around and we shouldn't have been.
And it is really amazing to see some of the statistics, as you heard. In fact, one of the things that was really interesting today is to hear that a U.S. sub sunk an Iranian warship, and the irony of it all, that warship was named after Qasem Soleimani, who, of course, was the former head of the Iranian Revolutionary Guard, and that's who President Trump took out in that strike in his first term. So how appropriate that this guy, who the Iranians were celebrating, they even name a big ship after him, that meets the bottom of the ocean, courtesy of a USS torpedo. I love this. And it's the first time that a U.S. torpedo has sunk a warship since World War II. And pretty incredible, it is the United States hitting Iran from every different direction. And here is President Trump also today. I thought this was interesting because he was asked, the reporters, all they want to talk about is, oh, isn't it terrible that this happened, isn't it? And he's like, wait. And in fact, a lot of them are saying, they're talking about how there may have been civilians hit in some of these strikes in Iran, which is very sad. Obviously, it's terrible. Nobody wants to see that. But it's certainly not like the U.S. is even trying to target those individuals, as opposed to Iran, which is indiscriminately firing these drones all over the place, hitting hotels and embassies. What do you think you are aiming for? And so you hear them all sitting there saying, oh, what do you think? There might have been some kids at a school that were hurt, which is terrible, obviously. That's the last thing you want to happen. But let's not also forget that Hamas is a proxy, of course, of Iran, and Hamas was building all these underground tunnels and all these terror outlets right underneath the big hospital there in Gaza. And that's what Iran is essentially doing, too. They're putting schools and they're putting churches and they're putting all these things next to federal buildings, next to government buildings where the Ayatollah and others are hanging out. This is like an MO for terrorists. Let's put innocent civilians right in harm's way. So if by chance they hit that terror tunnel in Gaza, well, then they're going to blow up that hospital. Or if they hit that terror target in Tehran, well, there's a school next door. So, I mean, this is really, obviously, U.S. is trying to avoid civilian casualties at all costs. But when I hear these reporters, after all of these things that we just talked about, the incredible success, the, U.S. launching so many attacks, so many missiles, having an enormous success, like close to 20 Navy ships, and the Iranian Navy, if they even have any more, they're at the bottom of the ocean. And yet they can't applaud that. It's like they're rooting against America, a lot of the people in the media. And then you got Gavin Newsom, who all he's talking about is that some kids were killed. And the White House is saying, we're looking into it to find out. But I wouldn't even put it past the Iranians that they did it. I'm just going to throw it out there. We don't know. You know, it's not like the U.S. by any means is targeting civilians. And people need to wake up and realize that some of these people that are asking some of these questions, it sounds like they work for Iranian state TV. 1-800-848-9222, 1-800-848-9222. And here is President Trump earlier today, because he also talked about the strike that took place in June, where they hit those 3 nuclear sites. And what was really fascinating to me is he talked about how they were literally, he thought, about 2 weeks away from maybe getting close to getting a nuclear weapon. That is absolutely frightening. We're talking about back in June when the B-2 bombers came in and unloaded on those 3 sites. Thank goodness he did it. Thank goodness. And what we're hearing about is that they were continuing to do it at different sites all over again. So do you want to be a Neville Chamberlain or do you want to be Winston Churchill? Here is Donald Trump.
You see the tremendous progress that's being made. Their missiles are being wiped out rapidly. Their launchers are being wiped out. They're attacking their neighbors. They're attacking their, in some cases, allies, or not so long ago allies. And, you know, it's really a nation that was out of control, and they would have used it on us if we let them, if we waited any longer. A big factor was Soleimani, the killing of Soleimani in my first term. And maybe the biggest factor was the rebuilding of the military in my first term. And then the B-2s hit and I use the word obliterate because it was a complete obliteration of their nuclear potential. And that set them back very, very seriously. If we didn't hit within 2 weeks, they would have had a nuclear weapon. If we didn't do the B-2 attack a number of months ago, they would have a nuclear weapon. And when crazy people have nuclear weapons, bad things happen.
Yeah, do you want probably the craziest person in the world? The Ayatollah, who's probably crazier than Kim Jong-un. He's probably crazier than Putin. They're all crazy. The 3 musketeers of craziness, I guess I would call them. But you're going to really allow somebody like that a nuclear weapon when you just heard that they were weeks away at that moment? I mean, that is a frightening prognosis. And anybody out there, I'm curious, is there anybody out there who thinks, oh no, let's let them get a nuclear weapon? And yet, if you listen to a lot of people in the media, they are just, all they're talking about is, why did you do this? Why did you hurt those nice, sweet Ayatollahs? This is an incredible moment where I think courage comes forward and shines. And thank goodness we have President Trump and Netanyahu in the forefront of it all. And as I mentioned, the Kurds, there are reports that the Kurds are coming. There's different intelligence reports out there. And earlier today, we talked with Brigadier General John Teichert. John Catsimatidis and I did on Katz and Cosby. And General Teichert was with the Air Force. He was head of Space Force, and he knows about the Kurds. And this is what he had to say. Listen to the number of Kurd fighters. It is stunning. Take a listen.
Just off of the wire is the fact that now the Kurds, and I'll describe them in a bit, are starting to flow out of Iraq into Iran as a part of a ground invasion to start taking back territory and overthrowing the regime. The Kurds have their own semi-autonomous region in the northern part of Iraq. There's 40 million of them, the largest people group that doesn't have their own territory, and they are fierce fighters and Western aligned, and that is now the next stage in what is going to be an overthrow of the regime in Iran.
40 million. 40 million strong. Imagine if even a good portion of that 40 million strong come headed towards Tehran. And there are reports tonight that that may be happening. And then there could be U.S. and Israeli air support supporting them from the skies. So no U.S. boots on the ground, Kurd boots on the ground, and also the Iranian resistance fighters. I mean, look at all the Iranian citizens rising up that are there in the streets. Remember, 35 to 40,000 were slaughtered, but there's still many people there who are absolutely crying for freedom in Tehran. So maybe they join forces with the Kurds. And then who knows, maybe there's somebody with the Iranian Revolutionary Guard that might be favorable to the United States, that they've got a good in. You bet that the Israeli Mossad probably has a good in. So you put all that together, that could be a game changer or a regime changer. 1-800-848-9222, 1-800-848-9222. Let's go to line one with Judith in Brooklyn. Judith, you're here on the Rita Cosby Show.
Hi, thanks, Rita, for taking my call. I want to say that you hear people like Marjorie Taylor Greene screaming how President Trump said he would never start wars, and she's like insinuating that's what he's doing. And let me tell you something. I heard Mark Levin, and he said something about this is a mission, and he said it basically it's a mission of peace. And I said, my God, that is fabulous. It's not. This is a mission of peace, not war. Because getting rid of a master terrorist, that lunatic psychopath, Khomeini, that lives in the 7th century mentality, you know, with their nuclear threats yet, is a necessary step, Rita, to bring peace and prosperity to the people of Iran and also the free world. And I have to tell you something. October 7 was a rehearsal to see how the world reacts. And they got away with it, Rita. So guess what? Iran is so out of control. If they could murder their own young people, 35, 40,000 innocents of their own, can you imagine what they'd want to do with Big Satan America? Because they disagree with our Western way of life, and they want everyone to be according to their Sharia law craziness, where everybody's going to wear burqas and slits there to be able to see where we're going or trip over ourselves with the long robes and whatever. It's just insanity. And you know something? It is a mission of peace. And
you know what? You know what, Judith? I love that language because, and I didn't hear Mark say it, but Mark is obviously always so eloquent. And that really is, you're right, because the end goal is peace. The end goal is to make it as short as possible, going in, but being most effective too, because you got to go all in. And to be most effective. But the end goal is peace, not just for the Iranian people, which in and of itself would be extraordinary, but it's also to bring freedom to the world. I mean, you think about all these Iranian proxies, think about like October 7th, like you brought up. October 7th, that was Hamas. That is a proxy of Iran, funded by Iran. Hezbollah, funded by Iran. They've been firing left and right on Israel. And then you couple that with the Houthis that are blocking, of course, the straits. They're trying to, destroy shipping and firing on shipping. So you got all of these different groups. What do they have in common? They're funded and facilitated and armed by Iran. Exactly.
Right.
So you get rid of this. You get rid of the head of the snake. and it would give freedom not just to the Middle East, but to the world. I mean, that's why I really do believe this is a game-changing moment. And for me, I've spent time in the Middle East. Judith, I'm familiar with a lot of the players in the area. And so for me, the fact that this moment is even happening is really remarkable. We've had so many American presidents who've had this mission of appeasement and money. You got the Obama bringing in the crates of cash. How do you think the crates of cash ended up? Guess what? They supplied a lot of these proxies.
Right. And Rita, can I just say, what's his name? Khomeini, just a couple of weeks ago said, this time the bullet will not miss. In other words, he's threatening President Trump again, okay? So let me tell you something. If one leader threatens the other leader, he's going to go kill you, the other leader has every right to go kill him first.
Yeah, no, and by the way, not only this time, and I'm glad you're reminding me of that, not only did he say that, let's not forget that there's been all these other attempts. And in fact, one of the people who was behind one of the potential plots to kill President Trump, he just happened to be killed, and many other key folks in his group. In the last, I think, 24 hours, Pete Hegseth announced that. But there have been so many multiple attempts physically by Iran that were actual attempts, not even just words like Khomeini, which obviously has a big influence when you're the Ayatollah. But there were a lot of these things. There were actual plans to kill President Trump, big plots that were thwarted. So, I mean, this is not a nice regime. They, just like you said, if they did this to their own people, imagine what they would do to the United States and anybody that they thought stood in their way. Great points, Judith. We love hearing from you, Judith. We'll continue with your calls, everybody, after the break. 1-800-848-9222.
The Rita Cosby Show
on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Rural Americans deserve access to the best our nation has to offer, especially when it comes to health care. Across every state and every community, America's rural hospitals are the first line of defense, protecting our families, neighbors, and loved ones. No matter where you live, hospital care doesn't clock out. They're there 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. Each year, America's over 5,000 hospitals care for millions of patients, providing 24/7 emergency care, delivering babies, cancer treatments, and other life-saving care that patients rely on. Behind every one of those patients are doctors, nurses, and caregivers working tirelessly to keep people healthy and safe. Hospitals are our community's lifelines. They employ our neighbors and keep our families' health. But now, some in Congress are threatening access to care. Tell Congress, protect patient care to keep America strong. Don't cut rural health care.
This podcast is brought to you by Carvana. Car shopping shouldn't feel like preparing for a marathon of paperwork. That's why Carvana makes buying and financing your car easy. From start to finish, search thousands of vehicles with great prices. All online, all on your time. And when you're ready, your new car shows up right at your door. It doesn't get better than that. Buy your car the easy way. On Carvana. Delivery fees may apply.
Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. I don't know if you knew this, but anyone can get the same premium wireless for $15 a month plan that I've been enjoying. It's not just for celebrities. So do like I did and have one of your assistants switch you to Mint Mobile today. I'm told it's super easy to do at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. Intro rate first 3 months only, then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See full terms at mintmobile.com.
It's the Rita Cosby Show.
And let's continue with your calls, guys. Let's go to Sandra in New Jersey on line 2. Sandra, your thoughts?
Hi there, Rita. I heard from a very wise military man. He said that Iran has many, many missiles and drones, and the way they're using them, this man is kind of happy because they're wasting them, and we want these people to deplete their weapons, not to have any left. Now, I don't want them to get hurt with hotels and all that stuff, but they're doing them in all the wrong places with all the wrong people, and they're making enemies out of their allies. So
yeah, you know what, Sandra, you made a great point. They're going, when you start going on Saudi and Dubai and all these other places.
The Rita Cosby Show
on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
The Lincoln Spring Sales event is on now, and there's never been a better time to experience the feeling of driving a Lincoln. Pictures, sunlight through the available panoramic vista roof, music, weather, and maps on the 48-inch panoramic display, and a drive so smooth that inspiration rides up front. Stepping out better than you got in. That's the Lincoln feeling. Get behind the wheel of the 2026 Lincoln Nautilus SUV and discover exceptional offers only at your local Lincoln retailer.
Rita Cosby is on. The Rita Cosby Show presents Back the Blue.
And this Back the Blue segment coming from Crystal Lake, Illinois, where police officers rescued 2 residents from a house fire on Cambridge Place in Crystal Lake. And the fire department was called to the blaze for a structure fire. When they got there, the crews learned that there were 2 people inside the residence and police were attempting to get them out. So the deputy chief of operations then said that 4 of the police officers suddenly entered the structure amidst very heavy smoke and massive flames. Yet they were able to locate and rescue 2 of the occupants and thankfully remove them to safety. Both of them were elderly people. One was an invalid in a wheelchair. Thankfully, by the time that the fire crews arrived on the scene, police had successfully rescued all the residents and confirmed to the firefighters that no one else was inside. Firefighters then rescued a cat from the home and incredibly brought the massive blaze under control within about 15 minutes. Great work and great teamwork. And thanks to our men and women in blue. Well, we are talking about the situation, of course, in Iran, and the strikes keep coming. And the United States is saying that more is yet to come. A lot more is yet to come. Also, evacuations are underway. There's a new update that about 18,000 Americans have been able to evacuate outside the Middle East. But that is really just a drop in the bucket compared to how many Americans are there. And this comes as the U.S. Senate voted just a little bit ago. Thank goodness this vote failed. It was a 47-53 vote. It was the War Powers resolution trying to say that Trump needed authority from Congress to launch the attack, which is absolute nonsense. I don't know of a single constitutional scholar that I have talked to that has said that he needed it. Let's not forget Obama didn't need it when he went into Libya, and many other actions that he and Clinton and Biden, all of these people, they didn't need it. But now suddenly, because it's Trump, the Democrats feel, oh, he needed it. So I guess it's another version of Trump derangement syndrome. But here is Gavin Newsom, of course, the governor of California. But he is also clearly positioning himself for political office. He, Kamala Harris, a few more. You might see Pete Buttigieg, Pothole Pete in there. Tim Walz is obviously far out, not just out, but he's far out. He was getting grilled yet again today about the Minnesota fraud. But here is Gavin Newsom, and he seems to be questioning the U.S. right now and the American actions, which to me, this is just despicable. It's like he can't even say anything good about what the U.S. is doing or what Israel is doing, even though he claims to also be a supporter of Israel. Listen to this guy.
And a lot of Democrats have looked at the Netanyahu regime and felt like, you know what, we don't like the trajectory he's on. It's time to rethink the U.S. relationship with Israel, especially military support.
Well,
where do you
Bibi's
stand?
making that easy right now. Let's talk about that. But the issue of Bibi's interesting because he's got his own domestic issues. He's trying to stay out of jail. He's got an election coming up. He's potentially on the ropes. He's got folks, the hard line, that want to annex the West Bank. I mean, Freeman and others are talking about it appropriately, sort of an apartheid state. They couldn't even, I mean, we're talking about regime change. For 2 years, they haven't even been able to solve the Hamas question in Israel. So this is, I mean, you know, I want to be careful here, but, you know, in so many ways, that influence in the context of the conversation of where Trump ultimately landed on this is pretty damn self-evident.
What is he saying, like that Israel pushed him to it and what, oh, they're not good enough because they couldn't solve the Hamas problem? I mean, what a terrible, despicable thing after what happened on October 7th. And what does he mean by Bibi was trying to stay out of jail? So what, this is like an opportunity, what, to be a war leader, like a wag the dog kind of thing? I mean, where is he going with all, there's a lot of like circumspect comments in there. And then also you got Hakeem Jeffries. He's the House Minority Leader, guys. And I can't believe some of the things that he has said. And he was asked today, I brought up the Obama case with Libya. And you could make the case that it wasn't like Libya was, quote, an imminent threat to America. They were, you know, there were issues there, that's for sure. And Gaddafi wasn't necessarily by any means a good guy, but he gave up his nuclear weapons. Remember, he gave up his nuclear development. And so you could say that Iran is certainly a lot bigger threat by far. There is no doubt about it. And yet Hakeem Jeffries today, when he was asked by the Fox News congressional correspondent, he was asked, you know, how is this different? You know, Obama didn't need it in Libya, and yet you're saying that Trump needs it against Iran? And listen to this back and forth. It's a classic.
Thank you, Mr. Jeffries. Back in 2011, Nancy Pelosi said that President Obama didn't need congressional approval to bomb Libya. Now House Democrats say President Trump needs that approval to bomb Iran. What's the difference?
Well, obviously, Libya and the circumstances connected to that were very different than the circumstance that we face in Iran right now. I mean, I don't even understand the genesis or basis of that question. Not suggesting that you're not asking it in good faith. But obviously, as I've indicated, first of all, I was not in Congress at the time. So we're dealing with what we're dealing with right now.
There's a difference, and we're dealing with what we're dealing with right now. Let's just forget everything else that was in the past. And then he also sounded like he is essentially saying the U.S. is going to lose. To me, this is one of the most anti-American, despicable things you can ever hear, because he is the House Minority Leader. And you think about overseas, these individuals who are listening and they're like, oh, look, you're one of the leaders in the House of Representatives is essentially saying, sorry, U.S., too bad. You ain't going to do it. You got a bad history in the Middle East, and this is going to be par for the course. And he said this pretty much almost right after the attack began. He has no idea. And I would say right now the mission has been a smashing success. But they can't even congratulate or applaud Trump or applaud the taking out of the Ayatollah. I mean, this really, we have hit a whole new rock bottom when people on the other side of the political aisle can't even applaud the others. That's really bad. I mean, President Biden definitely wasn't perfect by any means. But if President Biden did a mission and took out the Ayatollah, I'd be cheering today. And I think every American should cheer when an evil human being, one of the worst people in the world by far, gets suddenly eliminated. That's a great day. I call that success. And yet Hakeem Jeffries sounds like he is rooting for America to lose in this latest action. Take a listen to this despicable comment.
This military action is connected to regime change.
He did say this has been a winding road, but this did begin with Donald Trump seeing the protests, massive protests, and the bloody crackdown that killed thousands that occurred in Iran. And Donald Trump said very clearly, keep protesting, help is on the way. And this then led to concerns from him on the nuclear program.
There's nowhere in the United States Constitution where it says that we are to be the policemen and women of the world. I mean, that's the reality. Yes, we are the leaders of the free world at this particular point in time, but there's a role for the United States to play in terms of diplomacy, building coalitions, and none of that was done in this particular instance. And the American people, again, are not interested in their taxpayer dollars being spent for another failed regime change war.
That is the most reckless, ridiculous comment. Another, reckless war, another regime change failed war. That's what we just heard from Hakeem Jeffries. Where is the limit? Oh, yeah. Well, America, did you hear the part where he said America is the leader, of the world? We're the leader of the free world for now. What is he planning, our demise? Sounds like it by some of his rhetoric. And yet he doesn't seem to think there was any threat, any imminent threat, no reason to go in there. And then if you listen to Steve Witkoff, he's one of the special envoys, very close to President Trump, deeply engaged in so many of these negotiations with Israel and others. And so he was in the room when obviously Jared Kushner and he were talking to the Omani representatives and also face to face with the Iranian negotiators. And what were the Iranian negotiators telling him? He was in the room. They were bragging about how much nuclear material they had. They were bragging about how much they've accomplished under the nose, hiding from inspectors. They were bragging about how far ahead that they weren't even listening to President Trump in any shape or form. Does that sound like honest negotiators? And what? What does Hakeem Jeffries want? Does he want the Ayatollah to show up in the United States and say, I'm unleashing my nuclear bomb in 5 minutes? Is that what he wants? And anything short of that isn't an imminent threat? Hasn't he learned from history? Well, here is Steve Witkoff, who, again, was in the room with these negotiators, and he takes you inside and tells you some of the rhetoric that these individuals were saying to him. And it is stunning. And if this doesn't say to you there's an imminent threat to America and the world, I don't know what does.
90% material, Sean, can be brought to 90%. That's weapons grade, in roughly 1 week, maybe 10 days at the outside. The 20% can be brought to weapons grade inside of 3 to 4 weeks. And let me say this, because I forgot this small little detail. In that first meeting, both the Iranian negotiators said to us directly, with no shame, that they controlled 460 kilograms of 60%, and they're aware that that could make 11 nuclear bombs, and that was the beginning of their negotiating stance. So they were proud of it. They were proud that they had evaded all sorts of oversight protocols to get to a place where they could deliver 11 nuclear bombs.
If that doesn't send chills down your spine, to worry about the world's worst, saying they had X kilograms of 60% and that they're aware it could make 11 nuclear bombs. And they were proud of it, that they had evaded authorities. And that's what they were bragging about. What were they weren't bragging about? What else do they have that they didn't tell us? I mean, this is a real nightmare scenario. And again, I say bravo to President Trump for having the courage to go forward and do the right thing, not just for America, but for the world. 1-800-848-9222, 1-800-848-9222. Let's go to Norm in Brooklyn, line 1. Go ahead, Norm.
Yes, Rita, and I have the good luck to have Hakeem Jeffries as my congressman. So, anyway,
well, by the way, before you go forward, what did you make, Norm, of the fact that he came out and essentially said this is going to be another failed regime change war? That was pretty much hours after the attack. That, to me, is disgraceful.
Yes, it's disgraceful. He cares more about his career and making his bones with the American left than he does about what's right, about justice, and about liberty of the Iranian people and safety of the American people. So, anyway, I just wanted to let people know out there. I went, since I'm a constituent of his, so I get emails from him, and this one was like, stop the war, whatever. What's your thoughts on the war? With this is the official Hakeem Jeffries. So if I went to his site, and he's taking a poll. Should Congress limit the power of president, to that vote they took? And of course, I wrote no. And I sent them a little note, please, I support President Trump and Israel and their actions and the U.S. and their actions in Iran. I am very upset that you do not. I will be watching before the next election.
Now, did you get any response,
and
Norm?
Anyway, I sent that to him also.
Any response? Any response? Even an auto response from the office?
You know what? I checked off. I don't want. Maybe I should have checked off I wanted a response. I didn't. I just basically wanted to tell him, because you know what? I'm sick of it. I mean, I met with him, and he kind of gave me the idea that he wasn't going to support Mamdani, and then he went and did. So I mean, but my position is go. You should. There are congressmen out there that perhaps would listen to the people who would vote for them. And so I would advise your listeners to go find out who your congressman is, and a lot of them have polls on what's your position on this, and weigh in. So that's.
Well, I'm glad that you're reaching out. Norm, you are terrific. I honestly, what I love about you, Norm, is that, no, you care about this country. You care about voicing your opinion. You understand your First Amendment rights. And I'm glad that he's hearing. I wish you had checked off because, okay. or maybe what you should have done was put, I would like a personal phone call from Hakeem.
I could have. I could. You know what? There's always tomorrow.
There is. You could always write another letter.
I'll write another one. Maybe I'll write another one, or maybe the next time, maybe I'll just call his office. It's my district. I'm the 8th congressional district. So.
Absolutely, you are a proud constituent of New York. I didn't say of Hakeem Jeffries, but of New York. But we'll see. It'd be interesting to see what he does, or if he were to respond. Or if a staffer just does the old generic, thank you for your message. We'll take it into consideration. Click. We'll see. Norm, thank you. But I always applaud that you're writing and reaching out and trying to make a difference, which is terrific, Norm. 1-800-848-9222. Everybody will come back here on The Rita Cosby Show and continue with your awesome calls.
The Rita Cosby Show
on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Fox News is now streaming live on Fox One. When it matters most, turn to the voices you trust. We go beyond the headlines, bringing you the stories you won't hear anywhere else. Live coverage, sharp analysis, real perspective. At home or on the go, stay connected when it counts. Stream Fox News on Fox One. Download today.
This is The Rita Cosby Show.
So why are so many Democrats, like the congressman who represents Norm, Hakeem Jeffries? Norm is in his district, Norman from Brooklyn, who just called in, one of our favorites. And then also you've got Gavin Newsom, who seems to be turning on Israel with this really blistering attack. Calling Benjamin Netanyahu, saying that, he's trying to stay out of jail and running what he called an apartheid state at a time when they are literally fighting for their survival, going all in against Iran with the United States. He can't even be cheering on Israel or the United States at this moment. So what have we come to, that they're at this very desperate, dismal, scary place, I think, when you can't even applaud American military might and the tenacity and the wherewithal to do the right thing, to do the right thing, not just for America, but for history and for the free world. It really is shocking. 1-800-848-9222. Let's go to Annie in Connecticut. Ann in Connecticut, line 1. Go ahead, Ann, your thoughts.
Hi. I just want to talk about Bibi Netanyahu. His educational, his military background is amazing. And for someone like Gavin Newsom to put out those kind of statements, it makes my blood boil, to be honest with you.
Yeah, mine too. By the way, and you're correct. Obviously, Bibi has a very accomplished military background. Also, his brother, remember, was killed during Entebbe. Remember when all that happened years ago? So his family understands the sacrifice of war, what happens in war. So this is somebody who has really a profound understanding of when he sends his troops into battle or sends his special forces in, he knows the risks. He understands it, but he also clearly understands the risk that we're facing. You know, I keep saying this, Ann, that thank goodness it's Bibi Netanyahu and Trump at the helm right now. Can you imagine if we had Kamala Harris and Bibi, or if we had Kamala Harris and a Gavin Newsom type over there in Israel? The world would be screwed.
We are so lucky.
We are so lucky. We are so lucky. And great points that you made. Thank you so much. And let's go to Rob in Long Island real quick. Line 4. Go ahead, Rob, real fast.
Yeah, Rita, listen, you got a great show, as always. And
Thank
a couple of quick things. You're welcome. Three of the greatest threats to this country. Before I get to that, I want to give President Trump an A+.
An A+. Do me a favor, Rob. We got to go to a hard break. So stick with us. You got 3 points, so I'm going to give you a chance to give us your 3 points. We got to go to a hard commercial break. But we're coming back with you and many others here on The Rita Cosby Show.
Thanks for listening to The Rita Cosby Show. You can hear The Rita Cosby Show weeknights at 10 on 77 WABC. If you like the podcast, share it with your friends and listen anytime at WABCRadio.com and download the WABC Radio app. Hit that subscribe button on all major podcast platforms. Plus, follow WABC on social on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and X. See you next time for a new episode so you never have to wonder.
What the heck is going on here? Rural Americans deserve access to the best of what our nation has to offer, especially healthcare. Across every state and every community, America's rural hospitals are the first line of defense, protecting our families, neighbors, and loved ones. No matter where you live, hospital care doesn't clock out. They're there 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. Each year, America's over 5,000 hospitals care for millions of patients, providing 24/7 emergency care, delivering babies, cancer treatments, and other life-saving care that patients rely on. Behind every one of those patients are doctors, nurses, and caregivers working tirelessly to keep people healthy and safe. Hospitals are our community's lifelines. They employ our neighbors and keep our families healthy. But now, some in Congress are threatening access to care. Tell Congress, protect patient care to keep America strong. Don't cut rural health care.